Today, we're going to talk about two important players for the Islanders, Mathew Barzal and Oliver Wahlstrom. We'll discuss why I'm concerned about one and not worried about the other. Plus, we have a full preview of tonight's game against the Arizona Coyotes and a whole lot more, all coming up on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Gil Martin, so glad you could join us today and be part of the Locked On Islanders family. And thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. We have got a lot to discuss on today's episode. But first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question you'd like to ask, a comment on something we spoke about, or maybe a topic that you'd like to bring up on a future show, feel free to send us an email. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we are happy to mention you on the show when we talk about whatever it is that's on your mind. You could also follow the show on Twitter @LockedOnIsles. And you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter @IceWars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. And I am also live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So please follow me on Twitter for instant insight and analysis. And it is always great to have interaction with Islanders fans, either during game time or anytime. So please feel free to get in touch. All right, let's get started with this. I'm going to talk about two players who before the season we knew were going to be very important for the Islanders' success. And those two players are Mathew Barzal and Oliver Wahlstrom. And here we are, 14 games into the season. And right now, Oliver Wahlstrom has 4 goals and 7 points in 13 games. He missed one. Mathew Barzal, no goals, but 15 points through 14 games. So, look, let's start with Oliver Wahlstrom. Wally, we all know he is capable of putting the puck in the net. We have seen that from him. Look, he had 3 goals in the Islanders' first 2 games this year. He had actually that he played. He had a goal and an assist against Anaheim, 2 goals against San Jose. And you thought, okay, the kid is off to a good start. And then all of a sudden, he has now gone 6 games without scoring a goal. He has only 1 goal since those first 2 games that he played. And those numbers are troublesome because the thing about Oliver Wahlstrom, we knew he could put the puck in the net. That is not an issue. But the issue was, and the reason that Wahlstrom still, to this day, even after Barry Trotz has been replaced by Lane Lambert, Wally doesn't do the things away from the puck that he needs to do to become a top 6 forward consistently on this team. Yeah, goal scorers tend to be streaky. And so, 3 goals in 2 games and then no goals in 6 games, you got to live with that with most goal scorers. There's only a handful of guys, your Alexander Ovechkins, your Sidney Crosbys, your Connor McDavids, guys who are going to put the puck in the net, 4 out of every 6 games consistently. That's not typical. But for Oliver Wahlstrom to get more playing time, he has got to do things away from the puck. He's got to back check. He's got to pick up his man. And he can't take so many lazy penalties. Do you realize that right now, in 5 of the last 6 games he's played, Oliver Wahlstrom has taken a minor penalty. And I would say at least 3, probably 4 out of the 5 were lazy kind of penalties. The penalties you get because you're a step behind your guy and you reach out and hook him or hold him, or you're just not doing your job, and therefore you're forced to do something against the rules in order to try to not get caught up ice. We have seen Wahlstrom's ice time dwindle as we go. And look, unfortunately, he has been at or near the bottom of the ice time numbers for forwards on the Islanders in most of the last several games. Last game, 9 minutes, 10 seconds of ice time. Now, he was sent down against the Rangers to the 4th line, and I think that Lane Lambert is trying to send him a message. And hopefully that message gets through. I didn't see a big difference in Wally's play, but if Wahlstrom can get his game together and do the things he needs to do away from the puck, this kid has the ability to be a 25-goal scorer in this league now. You give him 15 minutes of ice time a game, not even the 18, 19, 20 that a top-line power play guy is going to get. You give him 15, 16 minutes of ice time a game, he'll give you 22, 25, 22, 24, 25 goals a year. But he's got to earn that ice time. And up till now, he hasn't done it. And you start to get to the point where even though Wahlstrom is still fairly young, you want to see progress. And I know progress isn't linear, but I want to see it. Now, the other guy, Mathew Barzal, that I wanted to talk about. Barzy hasn't scored a goal in the first 14 games of the year. And yet I'm not worried about Mathew Barzal. And I'll tell you why. First of all, for the first time since his rookie season, Barzy is on pace for a point a game or better. He's got 15 assists in 14 games. And that is just showing me that Barzy, even without that bona fide 30, 35 goal scorer on his wing, is creating. 5 of his 15 points have come on the power play. He is in every game creating time and space with his skates. He's got points in 3 of his last 4 games, and 10 of the 14 games this year, he has at least 1 assist, and he has 4 games with multiple points in them. The other thing that I'm not all that worried about Mathew Barzal, two more things, really. Number one is he is shooting the puck more. Who is third on the Islanders right now in shots on goal with 38? Yeah, Mathew Barzal. We know he's not a shoot first guy, but the only 2 players on the Islanders who have more shots on goal than Mathew Barzal right now, Brock Nelson, who has 43, Anders Lee, who has 40. So Barzy is shooting more often. And if he continues to produce at a point a game clip, even if they are all assists right now, and he's shooting the puck and creating time and space, I'm not worried about him. And I'll tell you this, if I get 85 points from Barzy and it's 15 goals and 70 assists, or 10 goals and 75 assists over the course of the season, I'm fine with that. We don't need, as a team, Mathew Barzal to score 25 goals. It would be great if he did, but if he's setting up 60, 65, 70 goals a year, I'm fine with 15 goals, 10, 15 goals. Give me that point a game production, and if you get him that bona fide goal scorer as a line mate, the sky is the limit for Mathew Barzal. So not concerned about Barzal, although I do want to see him start to score a little bit, and more concerned about Wahlstrom because I need him to become the player he's capable of becoming and to earn the ice time that he needs to be successful in this league. So far, he has been very inconsistent, and the inconsistency, I think, as much as anything else, is what's concerning me about Oliver Wahlstrom. We have got more to get to on today's show. We have got a full preview of tonight's game at the UBS Arena against the Arizona Coyotes, plus our Islanders' birthday of the day, a player who was with the Islanders for part of one season in the late 70s, but went on to a very successful coaching career in the NHL. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got all that and more coming up on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. We've got it all on BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those on BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Hey, are you confident in the Islanders after all these great comeback wins? Maybe you want to put a little skin in the game, so to speak. Head over to betonline.net and check out the odds you'll get betting on the Isles. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online, where the game starts. So let's talk a little bit about tonight's game. And I'm going to read first an email, a fan email that we got from Frank in North Patchogue. Gil, that was a sweet win against the Rangers on Tuesday night, but the Isles must guard against complacency against the two weaker opponents that they have at home this week. They cannot think that they could turn things on in the third period and have these comebacks like a water faucet. The Coyotes and the Blue Jackets have professional players, and they can take advantage of defensive and offensive lapses and make you pay. The coaching staff's job is to put this through our players' heads. When we play Islander hockey for 60 minutes, the results are excellent. I would love those 4 points. Points garnered in November are just as important as those garnered in March. Let's go Islanders. Frank in North Patchogue. Frank, I agree with you, and I'll take it a step further. The Arizona Coyotes, nobody expected them to do well. People were thinking, yeah, Arizona, they're going to be among the worst teams in the NHL. They'll be going for that lottery pick. Well, guess what? Through 12 games, the Arizona Coyotes are 5-6-1. World beaters? No. Are they a great team? No. But guess what? They've won 3 of their last 4 games, and they are more than capable of putting together some really good hockey. Now, look, they've been getting, inconsistent play. They're not great offensively. 26th in the league in goals scored, 26th in the league in goals against. So the defense isn't so great either. But here's where they succeed. Power play. 3rd in the league, 29.3% success rate. The Islanders' PK is going to have to be aware and get the job done. You know, after that very hot start, the penalty kill has been a little troublesome over the last 3 or 4 games. The Islanders need to get the PK back on track. And the power play for the Islanders, PK for the Arizona Coyotes, 12th in the league. So the Islanders got to try to get something going on the power play. They did all right against the Rangers with 2 power play goals. The goaltending for Arizona, Karel Vejmelka, he is the starter, 4-3-1, but a 3.41 goals against, a 9.08 save percentage. The backup is Connor Ingram, and he is 1-3 with a 4.42 goals against average and an 8.74 save percentage. Now, the bottom line is that Vejmelka played the last game, a 4-1 victory over the Buffalo Sabres. But I don't know who we're going to see in this next game tonight against the Islanders, because basically it's been a couple of days off. Last game played by Arizona was back on Tuesday. So they have the same amount of rest as the Islanders, but they're not playing a back-to-back. They have a day off after the Islander game. I get the feeling we see the starter. As far as the offense goes, Lawson Krause and Nick Ritchie lead the team with 6 goals apiece. Clayton Keller, 9 assists. Matthias Marcelli, 8 assists. And Shane Gostisbehere, the former Flyer, 4 goals, 10 points. That places him second on the team in that department. You look at the line combinations for Arizona. Barrett Hayton centers the first line with Clayton Keller and Dylan Genther on either side of him. Nick Bukestad is the second line pivot with Matthias Marcelli and Lawson Krause on his wings. Jack McBain is the middleman. Nick Ritchie to his left, Christian Fischer to his right on the third line. And the fourth line, Travis Boyd centers Liam O'Brien and Dyson Mayo. On defense, Juuso Valimaki and J.J. Moser are the top pair. Josh Brown and Shane Gostisbehere the second pair. And Patrick Nemeth and Troy Stecher are the third pair. We mentioned the goalies. And injuries, definitely an issue right now for Arizona. Andrew Ladd, the former Islander, Jacob Chikrin, both on IR. Nick Schmaltz has been out of the lineup. Connor Timmins and Zach Cassian are listed as day-to-day and may be available to return against the Islanders. We'll certainly keep you posted on that as we get closer to game time and get a little more information. But just getting back to what Frank from North Patchogue had to say. Yes, this game for the New York Islanders, on paper, you sit back and you say, yeah, okay, they've got games right now that they should be able to win. You got Arizona and Columbus at home. You got Ottawa on the road after that. Those are 3 games against teams that are not elite teams right now, teams that are inconsistent, teams that are struggling. But, you know, after beating the good teams, the one thing the Islanders cannot afford is to have a lazy performance, a performance where they think that they can just get the 2 points by showing up. You need to go out there and show the intensity that this team has showed in the third period of the last couple of games and show it for 60 minutes or at least 55 minutes. You can't start every game down by a goal or 2. And the Islanders need to figure out, and Lane Lambert needs to figure out, how to get this team off to a better start in order to have them be more successful over the course of the season. Because, look, I love these comeback wins. They're thrilling. They're invigorating. They make you feel like the sky is the limit. And yet, they're not sustainable over the course of 82 games. You play with fire enough, you get burned. And I don't want to see the Islanders beat the Avalanche and the Rangers and the Hurricanes, good teams that, you know, the Flames that most people didn't expect them to beat, and then give points back by losing to teams that they should be able to beat, especially at home. So don't underestimate Arizona. There is talent on this team. It is young talent for the most part. They're unproven, but at the same time, here is a team that is capable of putting it together on any given night, and the Islanders need to be ready, and they need to play Islanders hockey, as Frank said, in order to pull off this win. So, again, we will have a full preview of the weekend game tomorrow, and of course, we'll have our key takeaways from tonight's game against Arizona. But we also now have our Islanders birthday of the day. A player who only spent 25 games with the Islanders in the late 70s, was not a big player in the NHL, but went on to coach in the league for more than a decade and did pretty well behind the bench. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got that and a whole lot more still to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And tomorrow, Friday, will be the 68th birthday of former Islanders winger Michel Bergeron, the native of Chicoutimi, Quebec, drafted by the Detroit Red Wings in the fourth round of the 1974 NHL draft, and the Quebec Nordique in the sixth round of the WHA draft that same year. In his last 2 years in juniors, Michel Bergeron had a 40-goal, 102-point season with the Sorel Blackhawks in 72-73. And then in 73-74, in 70 games with Sorel, 62 goals and 143 points. And 120 penalty minutes as well. He was outstanding. Made his NHL debut in 74-75 with the Red Wings, and actually scored 10 goals and 17 points in 25 games with Detroit. Had a 30-goal season with the Red Wings in 75-76, a 20-goal season in 76-77, but was traded to the Islanders in 77-78, midway through the season, played 25 games for the Isles, 9 goals, 15 points, 2 penalty minutes, was a plus 16, but that Islanders team was so loaded, he didn't find a consistent spot in the lineup, went on to play for the Capitals the following year, and then was in the minors until hanging up his skates after the 81-82 season. Only played 229 career NHL games, 80 goals, 138 points, 165 penalty minutes. But the one thing about Michel Bergeron, he was productive. And he went on to a great coaching career. So after he retires, Michel Bergeron takes over as head coach of the Quebec Nordiques in 80-81, stayed in Quebec through the 86-87 season, got them to the playoffs. Every year he was behind the bench, then went on to coach the Rangers for 2 seasons before taking over again in Quebec in 1989-90, but he wasn't as successful there. As an NHL head coach, Michel Bergeron was in 792 games as the head man, 338 wins, 350 losses, 104 ties. So he was just a smidge under 500 as a coach. And in 68 playoff games, 31 wins, 37 losses. But I'll tell you, Bergeron had the respect of his players. We look back at one of Michel Bergeron's better games as an Islander. December 20th, 1977, at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Islanders facing the Colorado Rockies. They are now the New Jersey Devils. We're not talking about the baseball team. Doug Favell, the goalie for Colorado. Chico Resch in goal for the Isles. And it was our Islanders' birthday of the day, Michel Bergeron getting things started with 2 goals in a mere 42 seconds. First, Bergeron, his 7th from Billy Harris and Dennis Potvin at 4:21. Then Bergeron, his 8th from J.P. Parise and Billy Harris at 5:03. That made it 2-0 Islanders after 1 period. The Rockies get on the board in the second period, however. Jerry Hart of the Islanders called for slashing. Andy Spruce of Colorado, his 7th from Barry Beck and John Van Boxmeer at 3:38. That makes it a 2-1 game. But the Islanders' power play gets going. Chuck Arneson of Colorado off for tripping. Mike Kazicki scores his 2nd goal of the year on the power play. Dennis Potvin and Stefan Pearson with the assist. 3-1 Islanders after 2 periods. And the faithful at the old barn, which wasn't old back then, very excited. But the third period, the Islanders just exploded. Bob Bourne, his 10th of the year from Bob Nystrom and Ed Westfall, just 37 seconds into the period. Then Billy Harris, his 8th from our Islanders' birthday of the day, Michel Bergeron and Jerry Hart at 3:21. All of a sudden, it's a 5-1 Islanders lead. Clark Gillies from Brian Trottier and Jude Drouin. Gillies 13th of the year at 7:50. That makes it 6-1 Isles. Brian Trottier says, I want in on this. His 22nd from Drew Druan at 13:24. Bob Nystrom, his 12th from Mike Kizicki at 16:43. And then Billy Harris closes out the route with his 9th of the year, 2nd of the game. Our Islanders' birthday of the day, Michel Bergeron with 1 assist, Bob Bourne with the other. The final score, Islanders 9, Colorado Rockies 1. Islanders with 35 shots on goal. The Rockies had 33, but Chico Resch, who was later to join the Rockies in a trade a few years later, he made 32 saves in this one. But for our Islanders' birthday of the day, Michel Bergeron, he had 6 shots on goal to lead the Islanders, 2 goals, 2 assists. So it's a 4-point night. He was a +4. He had the game-winning goal, and as I mentioned, the 6 shots. So again, we want to wish a very happy 68th birthday to Michel Bergeron. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Big opportunity for the Islanders. Right now, the Islanders are in 2nd place in the Metropolitan Division, 2 points behind the New Jersey Devils as I record this podcast. And with the Coyotes and the Blue Jackets coming to UBS Arena, here's a chance for the Islanders to A, put some points on the board, and B, look, Carolina and Philadelphia are right on the Islanders' tail, and they have games in hand. You got to get points now when these opportunities arise. Let's see if Oliver Wahlstrom can rebound. Let's see if finally Mathew Barzal can get off the schneid and get his first goal of the year. I think he can, and I hope he does. Want to thank you again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. It'll give you the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. It's available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. That's going to do it for this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.